The roar of the crowd swells like a tidal wave. Lights blaze, cameras pan, and Conor McGregor steps into the arena with that unmistakable swagger. Yet behind the spectacle, behind the chants of fans and the thunder of drums, lies a haunting echo of Ireland's bloodied past. His walkout song, The Foggy Dew, is no ordinary anthem. It carries the memory of sacrifice, rebellion, and the dream of a nation's freedom. To understand why McGregor chose this song, we must journey back over a century, to the Easter Rising of 1916, an event that seared itself into Ireland's history with both fire and sorrow. Ireland, at the dawn of the 20th century, was a land under British rule, restless and divided. Centuries of colonization had left scars deep in the soil and the soul. While some Irish leaders sought home rule through parliament and negotiation, others believed only in bloodshed and sacrifice. A generation of poets, teachers, and dreamers found themselves consumed by a vision, a free Ireland standing independent of the empire. The city of Dublin, grey with smoke and hardship, became the stage for their gamble against one of the world's most powerful forces. The Rising was born in secrecy. The Irish Republican Brotherhood conspired with splinter groups, stockpiling weapons and planning to strike when Britain was distracted by the chaos of World War I for them. The Great War was not a calamity, but an opportunity. Britain's armies were consumed on the fields of Flanders. Ireland's chance, they believed, had come. Patrick Pearse, poet and schoolteacher, declared, "When we are dead, Ireland shall be free." His words were not metaphor, they were prophecy. On Easter Monday, April 24th, 1916, armed rebels seized buildings across Dublin. At the centre of it all was the General Post Office, its stately columns rising above the heart of the city. From its steps, Pearse read aloud a proclamation. Ireland was a republic, sovereign and independent. Bystanders listened in stunned silence. For the rebels, it was the birth of a nation. For the British, it was an act of treason. The days that followed turned Dublin into a battlefield. Smoke rose from burning streets. Civilians scattered as British artillery pounded the rebels' strongholds. The crack of rifles echoed down narrow alleys where rebels fought desperately, often outnumbered and undersupplied. Inside the GPO, leaders like James Connolly, already wounded, directed their fighters with grim resolve. Connolly, a Labour leader who believed the struggle was not just for Ireland but for the oppressed of the world, pressed on despite knowing the odds. The rebellion lasted only a week. By April 29th, Dublin lay in ruins, its streets scarred with craters and blood. Over 450 people were killed, rebels, soldiers, and tragically, civilians caught in the crossfire. Thousands more were wounded. Yet the true reckoning came not in the battle, but in its aftermath. The British response was swift and merciless. Over 3,000 arrests followed. The leaders of the Rising were executed one by one in the cold stone yard of Kilmainham jail. Pearse faced the firing squad first, standing tall and unflinching. Connolly, too gravely wounded to stand, was strapped to a chair before being shot. Their deaths outraged a nation. What had seemed a doomed rebellion began to transform into a martyr's tale. It was in these dark days that the song The Foggy Dew was born. Written by Canon Charles O'Neill, the ballad captured the grief and pride of a people who saw their sons die not for Britain in the trenches of Europe, but on the streets of their own capital for Ireland's freedom. 'Twas better to die 'neath an Irish sky than at Suvla or Sud Elbar. The song mourned, yet it honoured. It was elegy and anthem, lament and call to arms. Decades passed. But the rising lived on in memory, shaping Ireland's long struggle for independence. By 1921, the Irish War of Independence forced Britain to the negotiating table, leading to the creation of the Irish Free State. The executions of 1916 were not in vain. Their blood had fertilized the soil from which a nation would grow. When Conor McGregor steps into the arena to the sound of the Foggy Dew, he is not merely walking into a fight. He is carrying with him the echo of Ireland's defiance, the cry of rebellion, and the shadow of martyrs who believed in sacrifice for a cause greater than themselves. The song transforms the octagon into more than a sporting stage, becomes an echo chamber of history, where the clash of warriors reflects an older, bloodier struggle. McGregor himself has said that walking out to the Foggy Dew connects him to his heritage, to the fighting spirit of Ireland that endures through generations. For fans, many of whom may know little of the Easter Rising, the song resonates instinctively. Its mournful notes and fierce lyrics turn the crowd into a chorus of history, even if they do not fully grasp the weight behind it. But history never remains still. The Rising remains controversial even today. Some view it as a heroic sacrifice that set Ireland on the path to freedom. Others as a reckless bloodletting that cost civilian lives and brought ruin to Dublin. Yet, in either telling, it is remembered, and remembrance is power. As McGregor enters under the haunting melody, the modern world collides with the ghosts of the past. The roar of fans merges with the whispers of martyrs. The octagon becomes a place where identity and history, violence and pride, collide in one visceral moment. Every punch thrown, every chant from the crowd, seems to carry that history forward, reminding the world that Ireland has always fought for its place on the stage. The legacy of the Easter Rising is not just in monuments or history books. It is in songs, in memory, in the way a fighter from Dublin carries his flag into a global arena. The Foggy Dew is not just a song, it is Ireland's heartbeat, steady and unbroken, echoing through time. And so, when Conor McGregor walks out to those haunting notes, the story of 1916 is told once more. A story of rebellion and ruin, of sacrifice and rebirth. A story where blood was spilled, but freedom was won. A story that reminds us that history is never dead. It sings, it roars, it walks with us into the ring. This has been the story behind Conor McGregor's Walkout song, and the bloody rebellion that gave it life. Crafting episodes like this takes time, research, and dedication to honor the past with care. If you believe in preserving and sharing powerful history in this way, consider supporting the work that makes it possible. History deserves to be told, remembered,